Hi everyone, it's Esther here. I hope you're enjoying what you're doing today and you've also watched the previous video, because if not, this video is going to be a little bit difficult to follow. So in this video, I'm going to generalize the tips that I talked about in my previous video. So I broke down the different components of Casper, for example, the different types of questions that they were asking and some of the examples of each question type. And I thought in this video it would be good to give you a brief summary or a quick overview of what of some of the tips that I actually use myself. And for me, I was given just slightly under a month to prepare for this test, and if you actually look through the videos online, they actually recommend you to spend approximately 3 to 6 months trying to develop this behavioral skill of yours to be able to answer the questions and not panic on the spot. But I think it's okay if you don't have the time. It's really important to find a fixed set of routine or question types that you're going to stick to and practice with them. So without further ado, let's jump straight to it. So before I go to the tips, to give us a quick understanding, I think the Casper test is divided into a few different types of principles that they want you to understand medically. So the first we have is actually called medical ethics. So under medical ethics, there's 4 things that is actually quite important for you to know. Firstly, it is autonomy. So the decisions that you make should not be under the influence of anyone else. You should never force a decision, or a decision that a doctor makes should never be demanded from an individual, because otherwise this would be very, very scary. If you can imagine many examples to show this. The second one, in order of importance, should be non-maleficence. So non-maleficence is essentially the basic rule that you should never harm a patient, and a principle that you should stick with as a doctor. Now this will cause unnecessary side effects and potential ramifications of the problem that you can't solve. The third is beneficence. So working for the best outcome for the patient. These, the second and third actually does go hand in hand with each other, if you can think of it that way. And the last one is justice, the equal treatment of a human life regardless of their socio-economic status, regardless of their race, their gender. Do not give any preference to any individual. So we talked about the first one is medical ethics. The second one is actually decision making. So what's decision making? Again, it is taking a few seconds to think through the situation that you're given with, the video prompt, the question, before actually immediately typing out your answers, understanding the central problem. Usually, as I said in the previous video, there's always one central problem that they're dealing with, and you definitely need to identify that before going on. Next is getting more information. Usually the question provider wants you to kind of elicit another response from the patient or for more background information to the situation. So don't be afraid of typing on your answers, I actually need more information before I can proceed. But given this following information, what are the different steps that you would take to address this problem? Through your own personal experiences, because most of the the questions that are given in the Casper test is actually divided into half situational, video based, and the other half is actually based on a lot of your own personal experiences. For example, in part C of the question, ABC part C, usually there's a section that asks you what are some of the examples that you've gone through in your life, how have you resolved conflicts that are going on. So you can think about situations that you've overcome, adversities or challenges, or even difficult decisions that you had to make in your lives. They love to ask you about these. They just want to test your maturity at dealing with all this situation. Okay, so a few other questions that you can think about when thinking to your own personal experience. For example, some ethical dilemmas that you had to deal with, some difficult situation that you had to resolve, how to balance an important life decision, how do you make choices, something about success or teamwork, or about failure, or about handling choices. Basically it boils down to really handling choices in your everyday lives. And if you can think about all the experiences that you have been through so far, you can write it down, you can talk to it with a friend, you can really reflect and see what from these you can actually extract out and use it into your Casper test. That will be very, very helpful. It's definitely helpful to practice a bit of your typing skills. You don't have to do typing lessons every day, you don't have to hit 120 words per minute, nope. It's not bad, really. It is thinking through what you're actually going to write, because when you actually have a rough if you actually have a rough paragraphing, a rough bulleting bullet points of what you want to say, it'll be much easier to type them. Try to avoid as much grammatical errors as possible, but it's okay to not write in fancy English because you will not have the time for that. You can try to type as much as you can within 5 minutes by practicing your typing speed just a month before the exam, but I would recommend you spend more time actually trying to work through what you're actually going to type in the content of the question. That's probably going to help a lot more. But I think ultimately it's trying to find your own authentic voice through Casper. There's going to be a lot of people sitting for this exam, and some of the questions that you're going to see in the real exam is actually going to be repeated in a certain sense, that the crux of the problem is actually something that you may have actually dealt with in your life. So it's actually not that difficult of one, rather than a sciencey factual exam that you actually have to study a lot, plenty of months beforehand. But I think what's interesting about Casper, it gives you a space to kind of express your own opinions about some things, and it helps the examiners to see you as a person, and not only your grades, but much more your values that you hold, your ethical principles and all these. And ultimately, to remember everything that was said before, you can actually link back to the previous video that I've did, and if not, that's about it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.